Hey everyone! Welcome back to this video. Me and my family went to Istanbul early this year and we totally have no clue what to expect when we got there. So here we are trying to share some tips that we wish we knew before going to Istanbul. Tip number 1. Consider the season when visiting Istanbul. Do not underestimate this beautiful city. Every year, Istanbul receives millions of tourists, and I would assume that most people come to Istanbul during June, July, and August. The weather in Istanbul is usually mild, however, during the summer, they go into a hot and humid weather. On top of this, the crowd can be overwhelming, especially when you are planning to line up for several hours to many of its historical museums. The best time to visit Istanbul is during the shoulder seasons, such as spring and fall. But with winter, it's also considerable. January and February are usually rainy seasons in Istanbul, with a rare occasion of snow.
Tip number 2. Applying for an e-visa ahead of time. If you are planning to go to Istanbul or anywhere in Turkey, you might want to check the Republic of Turkey electronic visa application system. There will be instructions on the website if the country you're applying from is eligible for an online visa ahead of time. Some countries are allowed to come to Turkey without a visa. I will leave the link below for you to check it out. It is recommended to get a visa at least 1 month prior to your trip going to Turkey. In our experience, we were able to secure our online visa ahead of our trip going to Turkey. However, effective January 2024, US and Canadian citizens are no longer required to secure a Turkish visa if you are going to Turkey for less than 90 days. You will have an option to apply for a Turkish visa as soon as you arrive in Turkey. However, the line securing a visa could be very overwhelming.
And now for our tip number 3, credit card and debit cards are widely accepted but always carry a cash. Both cash and cards can be used in different situations in Turkey. Keep in mind, cash is essential for things like tipping or shopping at local bazaars. Digital and card payments are also becoming very popular in Turkey. Paying with your credit card or phone is certainly much safer than carrying a lot of cash with you. We would recommend that you take both your card and cash to Turkey and take advantage of each option.
Up next, tip number 4. If you don't have roaming, try to get a SIM card in Istanbul, but your options are limited. The process of buying a SIM is very straightforward and usually takes about 10 to 15 minutes. SIM cards are available usually in the airport or in the supermarkets of Istanbul. You just need to have a hard copy of your passport for registration. Unfortunately, if you're not a Turkish citizen and you don't hold a residency permit, there is a limited options when buying a SIM card in Turkey. You'll usually get a standard tourist package which includes data, calls and text, and some access to WhatsApp. The prices are usually around 350 Turkish lira or 19 USD.
Coming up for our tip number 5, the public transport system is phenomenal. Using the public transportation in Istanbul was quite simple. My family and I learned that taking the train was convenient, inexpensive, plus children ride free. The card that you buy is called Istanbul Card or Istanbul Card. The really amazing thing about the Istanbul Card is that it can be used for up to 5 travelers. Also, this single card allows you to pay for buses, metros, ferries, funiculars, and tramways, or even using the public paid bathrooms. Uploading credits to the card can be done at designated machines.
On to tip number 6. So this one goes back to our tip number 3, why you should always carry cash. Tipping is common in Turkey, especially if you received good service. You can tip at restaurants, bars, cafes, hotels, spas, and salons. Tipping is generally 10% of the bill, But if you received exceptional service, you can always tip more with a tip closer to 15 to 20%.
Alright, coming up for our tip number 7, if you're looking for a quick bathroom stop and you don't find any, look for any mosque. While traveling with kids could be fun, it is also going to be a hassle when your kiddos start to decide to do a quick bathroom stop. If you find yourself chasing a bathroom in Istanbul, do not forget that there are public toilets attached to most mosques, and in our experience, they are almost always cleaner than public bathrooms elsewhere. Some bathrooms are free to use while others charge a small fee. Another good reason to carry some small bills or coins with you.
Tip number 8. Dress modestly to blend in. Although Istanbul is a big metropolis with a liberal dress code to match, it's still a conservative Islamic state. This is why we still recommend you cover up for comfort and to fit in with the crowd. Women should try to avoid plunging necklines, revealing fabrics, and very short hemlines. One place you definitely must observe the dress code are mosques, where covered arms to the elbow for men or the wrist for women, and legs down to the ankles are required. Women must also cover their hair. Majority of mosques have pullover muumuus that you can borrow for free at the door to fully cover up. Note that there are no dress requirements for young kids. It's obligatory to remove your shoes when entering a mosque, so on days when you're sightseeing, wear shoes that you can easily slip off and on. And if you prefer not to go barefoot, carry a pair of ankle socks in the bottom of your bag. Some mosques provide plastic bags, otherwise you can just leave your shoes outside.
For our next tip, don't be afraid to haggle at the bazaar. Haggling is bargaining. It is a customary practice and expected mostly in Istanbul markets such as Grand Bazaar or Spice Bazaar. This is especially true if you're buying more than one of something or multiple items from the same vendor. Rule of thumb is to aim for a 35 to 50% discount on the sticker price. If you do decide to brave the Grand Bazaar or another historic market in Istanbul, the best advice I've heard is to do your shopping in the mid-morning. It's more likely that the vendors have already made a few sales and met their daily commission targets, so there will be less pressure on you. And coming down to our last but not the least tip for this video, do not fall for the shoe cleaner trick. This is probably one of the common scams in Istanbul that we did not have a clue at first. While me and my family were walking in the Asian side of Istanbul, going to the Galata Tower, I saw a guy ahead of us carrying a box and suddenly something fell on us behind that looks like a wooden shoe brush. I ran to the guy and picked it up and told him about it. Then after he thanked me and I noticed that he was trying to create conversations with us, he was trying to compliment my family, asking us questions where we are headed and what country we were coming from. He then started to set up his box and started grabbing his tools to clean my shoes. Luckily, before he further continues, my wife pulled me right away and told the guy that we are rushing to catch up a flight, which we are not. The guy was still very insisting, but good for us because he did not try to corner us. But I have learned eventually that this kind of scams in Istanbul is common and that they will coerce or forcefully force you to pay for the service that they are giving you with no options. Alright guys, and since you stayed watching this video, we would like to give you a bonus tip. Prepare to see a lot of stray dogs and cats all over Istanbul and entire Turkey. There are up to 1 million of dogs and cats and kittens living on the streets of Istanbul. Every corners and cafes in Istanbul, you will most definitely see dogs and cats everywhere. For the most part, they don't bother people and keep to themselves. Just a fact that every stray dogs in Istanbul are vaccinated with anti-rabies except for the cats. The government is making sure that these animals are protected, and it helps to know that Istanbul has a no kill, no capture policy. Alright everyone, if you have any other tips you can recommend when traveling in Istanbul, please leave a comment below so that we can also learn something from you. Also, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so that we can continue to learn and upload more videos similar like this in the future. Thank you and see you later.